It's always better than what you think, but when you lose, of course, it's not good enough. So we're just trying to rise up tomorrow, and we'll be able to go back to work. Everybody's going to talk crazy like they've been doing and have these analyses, and rightfully so. That's...
This offense is abysmal. It looks bad. Stroud, maybe having the worst year of his career.
We are officially 3 weeks into the 2025 NFL season, and this is usually around the time when we start to find out how the rest of the season's going to look for all 32 NFL teams. That's no different for the reigning AFC South champion Houston Texans. After finishing 10-7 in 2024, the Texans are off to an abysmal start in 2025, losing each of their first 3 games of the season. Each of those 3 games was a one-score game, and games that Houston realistically had a chance of winning for 60 minutes, but they didn't. And I believe the reason why is the guy under center who's supposed to be leading them, Stroud. Stroud has started his 3rd season worse than he ever could have imagined, and it may not get better from here. After an 0-2 start, Stroud and the Houston Texans looked to go into a Week 3 matchup against the Jacksonville Jaguars. The goal was to go into their division rivals' home and completely flip the script that the first 2 weeks had delivered for their season. However, that is the complete opposite of what actually occurred in Duval County. Stroud went into Everbank Stadium and completed 25 of his 38 pass attempts for 204 passing yards, a touchdown, and 2 costly 4th quarter picks. I mean, we're talking about 204 passing yards on 38 pass attempts. That's 5.4 yards per attempt. That is completely unacceptable in today's NFL. Now it gets even worse. Trevor Lawrence wasn't much better on the other side of the ball with 5.6 yards per attempt, but that's even more of a reason that Stroud has to lead his team to a win here. Trevor Lawrence got the job done. Stroud did not, and that was ultimately the difference in a key division matchup. However, this has been the problem with Stroud since last year, and the film shows it. I'll be the first to admit I may have been a little bit too aggressive on our last free square. We still hit on my Instagram story multiple times over the weekend, and I promise you this play is going to be way safer. PrizePicks is now giving us a Jalen Hurts free square. They're going to give us 2 more free squares to close out September. I'm going to create a much safer play for us for Monday Night Football. Now, personally, I'm saving this free square for later on in the weekend, and if you want to take advantage of this promo, make sure you use my promo code Mikerophone when you sign up for PrizePicks to get $50 in free plays when you make a play of $5 or more. Once you sign up, feel free to tail this slip for Monday Night Football. I personally think this is a very easy play. I have Jared Goff throwing 2 pass TDs at minimum tonight, and Tyler Loop, the kicker for the Baltimore Ravens, kicking 1 field goal. If you just take these 2 by themselves, you'll double your money, but if you add the Jalen Hurts free square, you could 3.5x your money. Now, I'm going to be giving away additional picks on my Instagram story, and I created a Patreon, patreon.com/microphone if you want even more picks, and I partnered with Fantasy Aces, who have been profiting each and every single day throughout multiple sports on PrizePicks. You could join that in the WAP link in the description down below. And thank you, PrizePicks, for sponsoring today's video. As always, you guys know I don't like to just cherry pick stats without giving you guys the context of the situation and the full picture. So I'm going to show you a couple of plays, both from this game against Jacksonville and some clips from last year as well, which is where his regression really started. Starting with this one from the 4th quarter on Sunday. With only 3 points so far in this game, Stroud and the Texans offense found themselves in a second and manageable situation at the Jacksonville 33-yard line, a key spot with the potential to put up some key points. Houston lines up in 10 personnel, with trips receivers to Stroud's left, looking to put some real pressure on this Jacksonville secondary. The last thing I want to point out from this play before the ball is snapped is Jacksonville slot corner Jerrion Jones on the trip side of the field. If you take a look, all of the corners on the field are looking at Stroud's eyes, but Jones is lined up differently. He isn't lined up like he's ready to backpedal and either play his zone or man his guy up. He's ready to explode into the backfield, but the Houston offensive line was ready for this. Once the ball is snapped, all 4 down linemen rush as expected, and as I said would happen. Jones exploded towards the line of scrimmage, but would end up in a one-on-one matchup with the Texans rookie left tackle. This is pretty solid blocking from the Houston Texans offensive line, but the reason I brought up the blitzing nickel corner is because of what happens down the field. From the moment that ball was snapped, Stroud had his eyes on one guy, Christian Kirk. Jerrion Jones was lined up on Kirk before the snap, so Stroud knew that Kirk didn't have a matchup once the nickel blitz came, so he stared him down. The problem with this is that Jacksonville ran a beautiful play in the secondary. If you look at the way that both Dalton Schultz and Xavier Hutchinson were being guarded off the snap, you think that Jacksonville was running man coverage and that Kirk would be wide open. That's exactly what Stroud thought as well, especially considering the concept that he knew would develop on that side of of the field. Schultz ran a short out from the mid slot. Hutchinson ran a streak from the X position, and Kirk would end up running a deep corner route, which is a simple flood concept that usually forces a lone defender to make a decision on the two outbreaking routes. Instead, CJ Stroud made a crucial mistake. The free safety would end up coming down to play a curl zone, which excited CJ, who eyed down Christian Kirk the entire way because he was under the assumption that the Trips receivers were in man, and that Kirk would fit right in between both the flat corner and the free safety on the sideline for a big play. Of course, he threw it to Kirk. But two things happened here that I want to note. First, the flat corner ends up breaking off of his man to try and attack the passing lane because Stroud made it completely obvious with his eyes where he wanted to throw the ball. Second, the pass itself was underthrown by about 6 yards, making this an easy play for Jordan Lewis, who came down with the pick and halted what was a promising drive from CJ Stroud and the Texans offense prior. I can almost guarantee you that this play would have worked if CJ Stroud threw an accurate ball and didn't stare down Christian Kirk, but he did. He got excited, he got comfortable, and it completely screwed him. These mistakes stem all the way back to last year as well. The next play I'm going to show you is from week 5 of the 2024 season from the Buffalo Bills, and it shows Stroud in almost the exact same situation he was in on the play you just watched. Houston had the ball on the Buffalo 33-yard line with a second and manageable situation early in the fourth quarter. The only difference between this situation and the last one is that this time Houston was looking to extend a lead, so naturally they lined up in single back on this play as opposed to lining up in shotgun with trips. With Tank Dell motioning across the field, Houston snaps the ball with the guard pulling and runs a pretty clean play action play to Daria Gumbawale. The pass protection on this play is genuinely unbelievable and gave CJ Stroud all day to throw the ball. But the problem is CJ Stroud didn't use that time. Instead, Stroud stands in the pocket, eyes his first read, which doesn't get open on the right side of the field, and then shifts his eyes to the left and immediately lets go of the ball, seemingly without realizing what was going on over there. Because instead of finding Stephon Diggs on a crosser like he wanted to, he threw it directly to Terrell Bernard, turning the ball over and giving Josh Allen, who won MVP this season by the way, an opportunity to take a late lead. This was an absolutely horrible read and an absolutely terrible throw, and this has really been the story of CJ Stroud for the last year and a half. The last play I want to show you may be the roughest one of them all. This one is from week 12 of last year in a home game against the Tennessee Titans, the same Titans team that was so bad that they ended up with the #1 overall pick last year. Late in the second half, your job as a quarterback is to try to lead your team into field goal range without turning the ball over. Emphasis on the latter. Make your easy throws, don't give the other team a chance, and if you do that and don't score, whatever. At least the other team didn't. Well, on this play, Stroud had a 2nd and 10 on Houston's own 14-yard line, with only 41 seconds to go in the half. The ball gets snapped, and he has options. Dalton Schultz goes out on a flat, and his 2 slot receivers both go out on solid little 8-yard curls, with Nico Collins creating traffic down the field to create space in the short game. Stroud ends up making a very solid, very quick decision to try and hit John Mechie on that left side curl. However, Stroud just completely sails this ball past Mechie, throwing a crucial pick that ultimately gave Tennessee points before the half that they should have never even had the chance of getting, which ultimately led to Houston losing this divisional matchup. Stroud making crucial mistakes like this have completely sent his career on a downward spiral, which is completely ironic considering the comments he made after his rookie season.
Final 5. Mahomes, Lamar, myself, Dak, and then Hurts.
Yes, CJ Stroud really did rank himself as the 3rd best quarterback in all of football after his rookie season in 2023. With Josh Allen not even being mentioned, Stroud had a hell of a rookie season, don't get me wrong, but was he really a top 3 quarterback? Never. This only gets worse too. After their week 2 game against the Chicago Bears last season where Houston won, Stroud went up to Caleb Williams and gave him advice like he was a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Good job out there, bro.
Yeah,
hey,
keep going.
Stop taking those hits.
Yeah, I know.
Hey,
Yeah.
learn from those mistakes, and everything that you got, bro, is in you already, bro. You're gonna be a hell of a player in this league.
The reason that's so funny is that before this moment, Stroud had definitely been good, throwing for 4,602 passing yards, 26 touchdowns, and only 5 interceptions. But after he decided to sun Caleb Williams, he's thrown for only 19 touchdowns to 15 interceptions. That's a 3-time increase in turnovers. The fact that CJ Stroud wanted to give Caleb Williams advice is awesome, and I'm sure Caleb appreciated that. But since that very moment happened, there's absolutely no doubt that Caleb Williams has been the better quarterback in every way. CJ Stroud continues to find ways to lose, and it's a genuine concern for the future of the Houston Texans. I'm sure that he'll continue to be good enough for Houston to compete in that weak division outside of this year, because the Indianapolis Colts look like absolute juggernauts, and we definitely need to bring you guys a video on that. But that is absolutely detrimental to this franchise, because at this rate, Houston will never be able to build a team good enough around him at his level of play to compete for a Super Bowl. If Houston wants any chance at that happening, they need to find a way to fix their franchise quarterback, and that may be easier said than done. He's been rough so far this season, but let me know in the comment section down below, do you think CJ Stroud could be saved? Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.